The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, all Cherries fans, and welcome to all Ipswich Town fans as well watching. Thank you for joining us. Now, before we get going, hit the like, subscribe, the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Now, of course, only yesterday, of course, these games are coming thick and fast now. We beat Tottenham Hotspur at Dean Court 1-0 through a bullet header from Dean Howson. Howson, of course, now becomes our youngest ever Premier League goal scorer. So, we're visiting the Tractor Boys at Portman Road. And before we get stuck into this, here's a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out more about them, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So, Ipswich Town. Well, a couple of years ago, they were playing Bracknell Town in the first round of the FA Cup. Of course, they've had a dramatic rise from League One via the Championship into the Premier League. It only took them 1 year to get out of the Championship. And it is a pleasure to welcome on to Up the Cherries in all departments from Talking Town, Matt. Welcome to the show, Matt. How you doing, mate?
I'm not too bad. I've just got over us losing to Palace in a game that we all said was a must-win, and we all thought we'd get 3 points in. Didn't transpire. But yeah, I'm in a better mood now. Let's see what Sunday brings.
No, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. And honestly, it's great to see Ipswich back in the Premier League. You've had some awful times, haven't you? You know, dropping all the way down to League One, and you know, all the way back again. I can remember, didn't you play Bracknell Town at one point?
A couple of seasons ago in the cup. Yeah. You have to go in at the first round, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, you know, I started watching Ipswich in '81 under the Bobby Robson side, and you know, I've been going for that 40 years plus, and I never thought we'd ever see Ipswich in the third tier. But you know, Marcus Evans comes in, doesn't quite work out for him, kind of runs the club into the ground a little bit in terms of money that he's putting in, and suddenly we fall down into the third tier, and then rescued by an American ownership group out of Arizona. And as they've described themselves, Mark Ashton, our CEO/chairman, does everything now. Probably serves the tea on match days. He said, we're just grabbed hold of the wings of the rocket ship and it's just gone supernova. It's probably gone a bit too quick, which is probably why we're struggling a little bit, I think. But look, no one's going to complain about getting back into the Premier League. We started Talking Town 4 years ago. We never thought we'd ever be talking Premier League football within, I don't know, 4 years, less than that. So enjoy the ride a little bit at the moment, but it can be difficult when you get nights like we had against Palace, obviously.
No, fair enough. And I saw that supernova in there, both Oasis fans as well here. I'm an Oasis fan. You're an Oasis fan. And I was watching a bit about Mark Ashton, actually. He was on Talksport a little while back. And, you know, the job he's done is really good, but he's really, really, He's very grounded, very down to earth. Do you put a lot of what has happened down to him, or do you think most of it is down to Kieran McKenna?
I think probably a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I mean, like we've had Mark Ashton on Talking Town before, and
Yeah.
it was fantastic that he come on the show. I do find him a little bit David Brent at times. They've done stuff on like Town TV and all that kind of thing where they're saying, he gives me oxygen to do his job. I give him oxygen to do his job. Everyone thinks they're going deep sea diving. So it gets a bit cheesy at times. But that aside, he is, and we've said on the show, he is one of our best ever signings, I think. And just, to be at the helm, to appoint McKenna, to see the potential in Kieran, because he comes in, we're like, Kieran who? Well, that guy who's next to Solskjaer on the Man United bench. I mean, he ain't going to get us out of League One. That was certainly my thoughts on it. I thought maybe he was a little bit too green. How wrong was I? It takes us back to back. But yeah, I think the American ownership have been fantastic. Let's not forget, they've had a lot of money to put into the club. Certainly at League One level. And then you see the potential going through the Championship. And Ashton is a very good infrastructure guy. I mean, they've turned the stadium around into a Premier League stadium. Yeah. And it was like, it was in the doldrums really when they took over. They've turned it into a really nice looking stadium, as the Bournemouth fans will see on Sunday. So yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant for us. And like I say, it's, the Arizona ownership, Mark Ashton at the helm, Kieran McKenna as manager. It's kind of like a match made in heaven, really. And, you get people like Southampton, don't you? Like everyone looking at Russell Martin and going, oh, is he going to get the elbow? He's not doing so well. Look, we're only just ahead of them, but it feels like McKenna's got a job for life at Town. We're in sort of Fergie Wenger territory. He could be here decades if he wanted to. I'm sure he won't be. The lure of a bigger club will be round the corner very soon, no doubt. But if he wanted a job for life, I think he's probably got it at the moment at Town. Yeah.
But he has done an absolutely outstanding job. And let's just talk about the promotion from the Championship last season, because, of course, you were one of the favourites to be relegated back to League One at the start of the season. And it was a joy to watch Ipswich. I watched you a number of times in the Championship. You never gave up. You've always seemed determined to, keep in those top two places, even when, things were going against you, you were fighting to turn it around. What was that like being an Ipswich fan? Because, of course, as a Bournemouth fan, we didn't ever imagine when we was on -17 back in 2008, we didn't imagine us actually being in the Championship at all. But it took us 2 seasons. It only took you one to get, and you went straight through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very un-Ipswich thing to do that, to be honest with you. Yeah, again, it's a cliche, but it was a roller coaster. I mean, if you take League One and Championship back to back, almost 200 points, almost 200 goals. So we've struggled for goals this season a little bit. It's been a bit, it's been a difficult one to take because we've been a goal machine the last 2 seasons. And McKenna's got us really fit. I mean, I think when we beat Spurs, we've only, obviously, as you know, Craig, we've only won 1 game this season at Tottenham, weirdly, where we outran them in the first half by 5 kilometres. So it just shows you. So I hope Bournemouth's fitness levels are up to scratch on Sunday. So it shows you how fit we are. And we've got this kind of never give up attitude. I mean, it was something like 32 points plus, I think, from losing positions that we actually got in the Championship last season. And we had a really impactful bench in the Champ as well, where, I think we were 2-1 down to Bristol City at home, real crunch game in about April. Wes Burns comes on, he turns the game around, we win 3-2. That's missing from our game a little bit this season. It doesn't feel like we've got that depth or talent on the bench to turn a game around in the Premier League. So to stick us back into the Championship, we'll probably be okay. But at this level, it feels like we're probably just lacking a little bit. But it was brilliant. And, I think the icing on the cake of the promotion really was the win against Southampton when Sarmiento scores right at death to win 3-2. And that really put us in the driver's seat for securing second. Look, we only missed out on the title to Leicester by a point in the end, and they were like 15 ahead of us at one point. But that felt that Easter Monday, I think it was Easter Monday, that felt like... That felt outside the stadium, on the concourses, there were people singing. I felt like we was promoted already, we weren't. But it just felt like it was solely in our hands now, for ours to lose. And you know what it's like when you're on a promotion run. You've seen it with Bournemouth. You know, you just can't see it going pear-shaped, can you? It's all in your hands. You've got all the momentum. You've got everything going for you. And so it transpired. And, you know, we get promoted. We beat Huddersfield 2-0 on the last day of the season. We get promoted, and Ipswich had to shut down. The town had to shut down at 7. It was run out of alcohol.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. We did lend you one player as well, and we'll touch upon another player that did join Ipswich as well. But let's talk about Kieffer Moore.
Yeah, big Kieffer,
because Kieffer is a legend at this football club. I know that he struggled in the Premier League with us, but he was the man that scored that goal against Nottingham Forest to get us promoted. How big a part did he play in that last season?
Yeah, fantastic. Because we'd bought him out of the non-league. McCarthy had taken a punt on him.
Yeah.
He was this striker that was, you know, really tall. Was he 6'6" or something?
Yeah,
scoring
like
goals that are like, was he at Forest Green and Torquay? I think I've got that might be right, but I don't know. We bring him in. He just couldn't get going for whatever reason. Maybe the jump was just too much, and he goes on loan. He ends up at Rotherham, Barnsley, scores a hatful of goals, and you know we sold him in the end. So it kind of was like a little bit of retribution for him. It was like unfinished business a little bit. And it was a bit of a joke, really. So, do you remember when we had Kieffer Moore, like a competition winner? It was that kind of thing. But we'd watch from afar him go on and you know, play in the Premier League and play for Wales at international tournaments. It was great, and I was really pleased for him. And you'd seen him kind of mature as a player. And then, of course, we're struggling with like injuries, and George Hurst has gone down with a hamstring against Leicester on Boxing Day. And we're thinking, bloody hell, who are we going to get in here to try and spearhead the campaign? And everyone's like thinking, well, Kieffer Moore isn't playing at Bournemouth, and you know, he needs a second bite of the apple at Portman Road, just maybe get a bit of closure behind his career here. And so it transpires he comes in with Al Hamidi from Wimbledon. Yeah, I mean, he did fantastic for us. I think he scored 7 or 8 goals. I think he got a bit of a back injury playing for Wales when they lost on pens, I think, towards the end of the spring, just towards the end of the season. And his performance has tailed off a little bit after that. But I would have had him back this season. He ends up going, Sheffield United, I think, doesn't he? But I would have had him back this season. I mean, at the moment we've only really got Liam Delap, who scored half our goals. George Hurst is out with a hamstring injury. Al Hamidi in a perfect world probably would have gone out on loan, but Hurst was injured at the start of the season as well, so he sticks around. And he's a good player, but he's not Premier League level. Yeah. And then you're kind of relying on maybe someone like a Smodix, who likes to play on the left of the 3 behind Delap, maybe going into that number 9 really. So we're limited for options. I would like to have had Kieffer Moore back, to be honest with you. I mean, he's just such a unique player, isn't he? I mean, he's so tall, like I say. Yeah. He's got great control. He's got an eye for goal. I think he would have been a really good option, albeit now in the twilight of his career. I think he'd have been a good option for us off the bench, but he's gone to the Championship, and you know, it's bare bones for us up front. I mean, January the 1st can't come quick enough. Hopefully we can get someone who wants to come to us, even if we might be in the bottom 3, you know.
Well, talking about going up front, Omari Hutchinson, of course, you actually made that signing. He was on loan there last season, wasn't he? Yeah. And, you know, he was prolific in the Championship. You know, he managed to get 10 goals, I think. Was it 20 odd games that he played? But he struggled a little bit in the Premier League.
Yeah. I mean, he was like, when he first come in that summer, heading into the Championship season, he looked really raw. Yeah. We were like, bloody hell, what are we going to get here? Do you know what I mean? By the end of the season, absolute world beat. I mean, you know, it was almost like our version of Messi. I mean, he was shooting he could cut in from the right flank and shoot and score. Ditto from the left-hand side, bag of tricks, really pacey. So we've gone from this kid who's like raw from Chelsea and just seeing what he could do. We all thought we was going to get that Amid Diallo, you know, the Man United kid.
Oh yes,
we thought he was coming in, and then that sort of that went quiet, and then Omari comes in, and we're like, right, who's this guy? And he looked really raw. He come on against Luton in the pre-season, and we weren't really knowing what to expect. He sort of like he was like a little wasp. He was just following the ball all around the pitch, you know. But by the end of the season, fantastic. And everyone's going, "Oh my God, do you think we could end up signing him if we get promoted?" And Stuttgart in the Bundesliga were mentioned with him, and obviously I think there's Champions League this year. We're thinking, we haven't really got a chance. And then suddenly the Premier League money comes in with the promotion, and he's now a record signing on like 22 million or something with add-ons. And our previous was 4.5 million, dating back 20 years from Matteo Sereni, we've got from out of the Italian league from Sampdoria. So
Yeah.
that shows you how much we've been in the doldrums. We broke a 20-year-old transfer record. But yeah, I always thought that, Omari would have to go back to the drawing board a little bit when he transitions into the Premier League. It took him a while to get going in the Championship. By the end of the season, he was fantastic. I hope he has that same kind of trajectory this season. But again, you're coming up against really good players who are predominantly internationals. So it's difficult for him. It's a real different kettle of fish, really, once from the Champ to the Premier League, as you guys obviously know yourselves.
And of course, that player that I did mention that used to play for AFC Bournemouth, he was on loan from Leeds United, is Leif Davis. He was he pretty much ever present last year from memory?
Yeah.
But, and to be honest, he's played 14 games so far this year in the Premier League.
Yeah.
What have you made of his step up into the top flight?
Took a little while for him, I think. I mean, we've always looked at him as being someone who could, when you look at England's options at left back, we've always thought that he could be we've had 12 internationals, I think it is, at Ipswich, have been capped for England. It's always felt like he could be the 13th. And I feel like he's been unlucky not to get a shout. Do you know what I mean? In some of these Nation League games, at least give him a run out, see how he gets on against the likes of a Finland or Republic of Ireland. I mean, they seem like the perfect games, but it didn't happen. They went with that Lewis Hall at Newcastle. And I suppose there was a little bit of a question mark when he started, but then into the Premier League. But then our first two games was Liverpool, Man City, back to back. So, I mean, that's a baptism of fire in itself, like I say. You're suddenly going up against not just international players, world-class elite superstars in Salah and Haaland and the like. So that was a baptism of fire for him a little bit. And he struggled against Man City, and he gave away a pen after we'd taken the lead there through Smodeks against that Savinho. And that kind of opened the floodgates a little bit. But he's such an attacking threat for us. I mean, he got that Championship assist all-time record last season. I think it was 16, 17, something like that. He scores a really good goal against Leicester. Ball over the top from Morsey. He volleys it in towards the far post, which is in, I think, Match of the Day's Goal of the Month rundown. Yeah. So he's looking great. I mean, how long he's going to stick around at Ipswich, I don't know. I mean, we've always thought that if we got promoted, he'd probably do a season in the Premier League and then move on to, I don't know, like someone who's on the periphery of European football, or someone, like a Brighton or somebody. But he's been brilliant. I mean, look, he didn't look great when he first started for us. He gave away a penalty on his debut against Bolton in a 1-1 draw. I think he'd just come back from Leeds' pre-season tour in Australia or something. He was like, oh, bloody hell, what we signed here? And then like Omari, again, like the launch pad, the rocket ship, all those cliches. And he hasn't really looked back. He's been fantastic for us. Really good. I mean, what he would garner in as a fee to move on, I don't know. I mean, you're talking, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 million. I really don't know, to be honest with you. Dream money.
Well, Calvin Phillips come on loan. Now, this was a weird one for me because, Calvin Phillips has got a decent name. He did very, very well at Leeds. He has struggled at Manchester City. He struggled at West Ham last season.
Big Sam.
Honestly, he was, to be honest, he was very, very poor, when he played us.
Yeah.
But how has he been at Ipswich? Has Kieran McKenna seemed to get him on the right track?
Yeah, he's a funny one, Calvin. I mean, he's certainly come to Ipswich because his career has been in the basement a little bit. And we always say on Talking Town, you go back to like Euro 2020, which was actually Euro 2021, wasn't it? It's only 3.5 years ago. He was like England's player of the year, player of the season with the performances in that tournament. So obviously the talent level is there, but like you rightly say, I mean, it's just gone a bit pear-shaped for him at Manchester City. The loan move at West Ham doesn't turn out good at all. You can probably tell from my accent that I've got London roots. Nearly 99% of my family are West Ham fans, apart from me. I went the other way to East Anglia. It's for Ipswich. So they weren't big fans of him at West Ham. We lose 4-1 at West Ham this season, and Calvin makes a massive mistake to gift them the first goal within the first 50 seconds. And they were like, oh, same old Calvin, But, I know people who've worked with Calvin on the international scene and say he's a fantastic guy, really good character. And that's first and foremost. We go back to McKenna and Ashton. That's what they're kind of looking for, really. People with a good attitude will slot into the group, as they like to call it. The group is always bigger than the individual.
Yeah.
So I think he brings the right energy. But at the moment, he's had a funny start to the season. He doesn't complete 90 minutes. He got sent off against Leicester City in a game he was playing quite well in. I don't think he's going to feature Sunday. McKenna said in the press that he's struggling with a knock. He was on the bench Tuesday against Palace, but didn't see any action. I don't think he's going to be fit enough to play on against you guys on Sunday. But yeah, I think the jury's out a little bit. And at the moment, we've got Morsey, our captain.
Yes.
I think kind of like a Roy Keane style character.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Old school, tough tackling. He's walking a tightrope at the moment of 4 yellows.
Mm.
We really don't want to lose him. We've got Newcastle after you. We've got like Wolves, Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea on the horizon. We kind of need him in there. And next to him is a guy we've brought in on loan from Napoli, who's Swedish, Jens Kieffer, and he's playing very well. He's got more energy than Phillips. Phillips is a bit like a less aggressive Morsey for me. He likes the ball to do the work and he can pick a pass. And Kieffer and Phillips did play as a 2 against Brentford in that kind of roller coaster 4-3 basketball game we had against them where they beat us right to death because Morsey was out injured that day. And they played quite well together. And Phillips did set up one of the goals. But the jury's out at the moment. And, he's 150 grand a week player. I mean, I would imagine we're paying maybe some of his wages. But I don't know. I don't know what's... I think he's been below average, I think. And the fact he's got a red card not even featuring at the moment and has an injury is not being helpful to us at all, really.
One thing that quite a few people have said to me, and I think this might be a little bit of an unfair assessment because you went so quickly through the championship, is that you signed a lot of players in the summer.
104 mil.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But was it a necessity, or do you think, because we've seen teams, like ourselves, when we first went into the Premier League, not maybe the second time, but the first time back in 2015, we was promoted to the Premier League and we kind of kept, the core set of players. Yeah, there was a little bit of strengthening here and there, but it was nowhere near what Ipswich have spent.
Yeah.
Do you feel that maybe that could be one of the failings, is that you've just spent so much money and it's kind of desettled the players that actually got you there?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, we kind of debated that on the show in the summer, really. Do you continue the momentum and the drive that you've got with the group that's got you there in the first place?
Yeah.
Or do you go in and spend a lot of money and try and bring in some names and a bit of experience to try and help you finish 17th or higher? And to be honest with you, Craig, we've not really bought any Premier League experience in other than Calvin Phillips, to be honest with you. I mean, Liam Delap was on loan at our Hull last season. Jacob Greaves, who we bought in defence, was at Hull last season. Murich was in and out of that Burnley side that got relegated. O'Shea as well, who's in defence. So the argument there is that maybe we haven't brought in enough Premier League experience. We've just brought in lads that we feel like McKenna feels like could probably step up to the Premier League or have had a little smattering of experience in the case of O'Shea and Murich, I suppose. But I mean, look, no one could foresee Liam Delap going on the tear that he's done. I mean, he looks a completely different player to the one we saw at Hull. I mean, he played against, I think we beat him 3-0, 3-1 at Portman Road, sort of early doors in the championship season. I would say most Ipswich fans wouldn't even remember that he played in that game. And then right at the end of the season, in like another basketball game, it was 3-3, he scores in that, but he came in off the bench in that game. And then when we bought him, people were saying, oh, he's going to be a really good signing for you. He could go and play for England. No, he could be the next Harry Kane. I was like scratching my head going, really? But I mean, again, under McKenna's coaching and the McKenna staff, he just looks fantastic. He's got, 6 goals? But we've scored 13, so he's got half of them already. And, people are already talking about him probably moving on next season for mega money. And he can't be that far behind getting an England call up. I mean, your old player Solanke's getting in there now, isn't he? After not being there for about 10 years. And I would say he's probably, out of, what is there? Kane, Watkins, Solanke. I would say Delap's probably the 4th.
Yeah, I would disagree with you on that. Yeah. The problem is it could be the case, like very much like what we found, is that Solanke, it was just so annoying. Solanke, proved that he deserved that place in the England setup.
Yeah.
But, he wouldn't get it. And I always thought is it because he is at Bournemouth?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it could be the same scenario. Not no disrespect, but I think
Maybe.
it is just the way especially Southgate used to think. So hopefully Tuchel is a little bit
Yeah,
different.
we'll see. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll see. I'd love to. I mean, I'd love to see Davis get the call up, and I'd love to see Delap
yeah,
get one. I mean, people were talking about Jacob Greaves getting a call up. Certainly, one of the whole lads we had on when we signed him said, "Oh, this guy's going to want to play for England." He's
mm,
missed. He played against Palace, but had missed 6 games previous to that with an injury. But he did look good in the lead up to that. We'll just have to wait and see. But even bringing those lads in, like it just seems like there's a gulf there at the moment. And I said after the Palace game when we did Talking Town on Wednesday. At the moment, we are a really good club. We're really well
yeah,
coached. We've got some really good players. Like I say, Delap, fantastic. Omari, fantastic. Ditto, Morsey. I just wonder if we're not quite good enough consistently in the Premier League, which is why we've not won at home
mm,
yet. We've only won 1 game away, and why we're second from bottom. I mean, the stats don't really lie, do they? With all the best will in the world, we want to stay at the top tier, and I always call it dining with kings. That's where you want to be, the global spotlight.
yeah.
And it's great, as you say, it's great to see Ipswich back in that. I just wonder whether or not we're just not quite good enough. But of course, you guys went back down and went back up again, didn't you? So maybe
Yeah,
that is the
exactly.
trajectory for us long term.
Well, these next 2 games, you've got ourselves at home at Portman Road, and then you go to Molineux, of
Yeah,
course, as you've
yeah,
mentioned there. Looking at your fixtures after that, into the new
yeah,
year,
yeah.
and like, I might be saying it being a bit critical of my own club here, but this is kind of a 6-pointer. This is one that Kieran McKenna's probably got marked out as like, we need to get something from this
Yeah.
lot.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said on Talking Town, most Ipswich fans have looked at Palace struggling and
Yeah.
Bournemouth, albeit not struggling, but as 2 back-to-back games where we could get 6 points, and we were kind of saying that off the back of beating Tottenham and looking fantastic against Man United. We really should have beaten Man United.
Yeah.
Both those clubs gave us room to play,
Hmm.
but then we came crashing back down to earth against Nottingham Forest, where we had a good first half, but were suffocated out of the game in the second and lose to a penalty. That's how narrow it was. And then Palace just didn't let us play at all. Again, they just contained us very easily. We was reduced to half chances. So I'm hoping, like, you were saying like Bournemouth like to play that high press. Man United and Spurs gave us room to be able to play on the counter attack if we wanted to, which is why we got points off them. So I hope it's a basketball game again for us on Sunday. I think that really will suit us. If you come and contain us a little bit like Palace did, I think we could be in trouble. It's difficult for us to break down.
We will play the high press. We'll be difficult. We'll be in your face. I know what we're going to be like. But
It's gonna
then
be a good game, I
again,
think.
I can't see Ipswich, going easy on us, and it could be a little bit of a rude awakening for our players. Matt, how do you think it'll finish?
Well, I said a week or so ago that I thought we'd win. So I'm gonna, even though I was very disappointed in our performance against Palace, I'm still gonna stick by that, Craig. And I think we've got to win at home at some point, right? It put it against Man City in January,
Yeah.
and I think, if only we were playing them right now. Not a team that's won back-to-back games. I think we might just narrowly do it. I'm going to go 2-1, 2-1 Town. Fingers crossed. Touch wood.
Well, I'm not going to bet against my own team. You
Of
probably
course.
guessed that. I didn't expect you to. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. But, Matt, honestly, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. All the very, very best. And I really do mean that. I really do hope Ipswich stay up in the Premier League. And, Kieran McKenna, great coach. I think, he could help you scrape through. Fingers crossed, mate.
I hope so. And good luck to Bournemouth after Sunday, obviously.
Yeah, likewise, mate. All the very, very best. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe, the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Now, if you are an Ipswich Town fan watching, you might want to watch an interview that we did earlier on in the year. That was with the comedian Omid Jalili, where he talks about his love for the Portman Road club. So go check that out. It's in the interviews tab. You will be able to find it on there. Do also check out all of our other interviews. We've had the likes of David Icke on here. We've had Harry Redknapp, Professor Brian Cox. We've also had members of the bands Five, Kasabian, Ocean Colour Scene, The Farm, Dodgy, The Happy Mondays, and lots more as well. So do go check all of those out. Again, it's in the interviews tab. Scroll through, see what you like. Let us know what you think of them as well in the comments. Until the next show, up the cherries. We'll see you soon.
The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.